Welcome back. The Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Rights Commission has laid criminal charges against Michael Swain from the Freedom of Religious South Africa organization. Commission chairperson Thoko Mkhwanazi-Xaluva says that 4SA accused her of receiving 1.5 million rand from the National Lotteries Commission for the Cheryl Zondi Foundation and appointed herself as its deputy chairperson while still chairing the commission. Mkhwanazi-Xaluva claims that she is being targeted as she prepares to implement laws regulating the faith communities. For more on this, we are now joined by the founder of the Cheryl Zondi Foundation, Cheryl Zondi. Cheryl, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Why did you decide to speak out?
Morning, Aldrin. Thank you so much for having me. I decided to speak out because for one thing, these rumors have been circulating for as long as the legal matter I was involved in was happening, and they have been baseless and unfounded. We've never received funding from the National Lotteries Commission. I have been funding the foundation from, money that I get from my work, my salary. So everything that has been done in the foundation has been done by me. So it's ridiculous that someone, can spin stories from thin air and think that we didn't even apply. So I don't know how on earth the National Lotteries Commission would be able to give us funding when they don't even have our banking details, So I wanted to address it. I think for the longest time, I have just been ignoring the murmurs and the rumors because I know that, they're not fact. But this time around, this person has an audience of about 21 million people. And, this kind of misinformation can spread very, very quickly. And so I decided to be a part of this because I wanted to address it in a big way and maybe send a strong message that there should be consequences for people who insult people who say things that they know are untrue.
Okay. I want to go to the statement that was released by the National Lotteries Commission on the 13th of December 2018. Do you know Izimvo 447 NPC?
Yes. So we met with Izimvo on the day of the grant giving, actually. So Izimvo had committed to donating T-shirts to the Cheryl Zondi Foundation, which they did. They also committed to donating a couple of standing banners and a gazebo. That is the extent of, any involvement that the Cheryl Zondi Foundation has had with Izimvo.
Yeah, because in that statement, and I'm just going to read the paragraph for our audience as well, Izimvo 447 NPC is a Gauteng-based organization which had been granted 1.5 million rand by the NLC to educate communities about the abuse of religion and traditional beliefs. Their work entails creating awareness against the exploitation of vulnerable groups and sacred spaces and addressing issues of patriarchy, gender-based violence in the communities. Izimvo 447 NPC has partnered with the Cheryl Zondi Foundation in rolling out their awareness campaigns nationwide. So what's your explanation with regards to how we should understand this partnership between yourself as well as Izimvo 447 NPC, which is actually the organization that got the 1.5 million?
Yes, they're actually the organization that got the funds. The extent of the partnership was the donations. That's literally the beginning and the end of the Cheryl Zondi Foundation's involvement with Izimvo NPC. There was nothing else. We didn't join hands in any kinds of programs. The extent of the partnership was the donations that was received by the Cheryl Zondi Foundation, and literally that's that.
And there was no money that went to the foundation? No
money that went to the foundation. And, there are bank statements to prove that.
Yeah. What would you want the police to do with this information? What action should be taken against 4SA? It sounds to me that it's more of a civil matter rather than a criminal matter. But what would you like the police to do about it?
So we are pursuing a civil case because it's one thing for people who are not really informed, tweeting from the corners of their households about Cheryl Zondi Foundation getting 1.5 million. It's an entirely different thing for someone who has a legal background, mind you, and an audience of 21 million and someone who has strong ties in faith communities to come and say that the Cheryl Zondi Foundation received 1.5 million rands and has done absolutely nothing with the money to actually help the people that she's committed to helping. So I want the police to really, really, really make sure there are consequences for this person. And hopefully that sends a message to other people before they start spreading rumors about someone. It would be nice for them to fact check, because I think we live in an age where information is so accessible that people think that, Twitter trending topics are the same as fact. And just because something is being talked about, it doesn't make it true.
Yeah. Just take us back to why you started the Cheryl Zondi Foundation.
I started the foundation because, well, at the time, I received so much support from my country upon coming out about my abuse. And, I felt a huge sense of responsibility because at the time, going onto the stand, I didn't know the extent of the issue as far as abuse in sacred spaces. And it really became a reality for me outside of my own reality after coming out about my story, because of the stories that had come out after my testimony. And so I wanted to reach out to people who had been through, abuse that was similar to mine, because it's a little bit more difficult to understand. It has a lot to do with faith, and not as violent as a crime, well, not as violent a crime as rape is thought to be. So I just wanted to help people. That's literally what my intention was. And I've been doing this in my own capacity, mostly through outreach, sanitary towels, food parcels, clothing, things of that nature. And what I'll do is I'll have a little talk with whoever I'm donating those things to from my salary, just to do my bit, just do what I can in my small corner of the world. And I think if more people did that, it doesn't have to be a big project, just do what you can where you are. And that makes a difference.
Yeah. And when you do the work that you're currently doing and perhaps maybe bump into people, what message do you convey to them, considering that the person that you had accused and his two co-accused were acquitted by the court? What do you say to them?
This is a question that I have been struggling with since the verdict. But I think the thing that gives me peace of mind, myself and the other witnesses who are involved in the case, is that we spoke the truth. I spoke the truth. I know what happened to me. And, there's something freeing about knowing that you have spoken the truth and you're not lying against anyone. And I think I do pat myself on the back as well, because we were able to keep him from abusing anyone for 8 years. That's a win for us. Even though he didn't stay in jail for as long as we wanted, we were able to stop him from doing what he was doing to us, to other people, for 8 years. Now, some people who are still supporting him may not know that what they've been saved from, but we know. And I think for me, that gives us peace of mind. And so what I would say to other people who have gone through what I've gone through, stand for your truth. And hopefully, I think it also matters that, the justice system meets people like us halfway. We can't really expect people to come out about their abuse when the justice system doesn't kick into gear and do what it's supposed to do. I mean, in our case, for example, there was evidence. The judge really, really came down hard on the NPA, talking about the fact that they didn't make a case. They even failed to cross-examine or Timothy. And for me, that is really jarring. It's really shocking because, I'm not a lawyer myself. I don't have a law degree, but I think I, as a normal civilian, could have come up with questions to ask this person on the stand for a trial that's been going on for 8 years and that has so much social interest and investment. So I think the justice system definitely needs to do a better job. Because what happened to me happens everywhere. It happens every single day. I've sat through court cases and watched rapists be let off, even in cases where there is physical evidence. So the justice system as a whole needs to do better. And I think maybe that's what the case that I was involved in has brought to the fore, that, I don't know, the state doesn't do its due diligence.
Yeah.
something as simple as calling airlines to get records of the flights that we were taking in and out of the country, in and out of provinces. They couldn't do that, which is, unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you have some sense of relief now that the head of the NPA, Shamila Batoy, had even told Parliament now about the appeal, that perhaps maybe the justice that you have been seeking would finally be delivered? How do you feel about that decision by the NPA?
Well, I think, I don't know. I think the urgency of the matter should have been taken seriously a lot sooner. And I think that maybe because of the publicity that the case has received, maybe this is seen to be taken more seriously by the NPA. But this is something that happens every day. So at this point, I feel it's not good enough. The witnesses gave everything that they had, all the evidence that we had to share. We gave them cell phone numbers, we gave them, dates as far as we could remember, and they just didn't deliver. And for the mere fact that the same legal team who, was involved in our case was hired for the Fort Hare case, tells you that the due diligence is not really being done. What are the things that qualify the attorneys that are defending witnesses in these types of cases? What qualifies them? Because it seems like someone closes their eyes and just chooses someone. And that's simply not good enough. The country is facing a GBV national disaster. I think we have some of the worst rates in the world. And we really, really need to do better. And it really needs to be met with the same aggression that these crimes are infiltrating on our communities.
Yeah. And I wonder then, Cheryl, would that have been the frustration that you would have raised with Barry Madolo, who was the Director of Public Prosecutions in the Eastern Cape? Because one of the things that Judge Skuman highlights and actually laments is the conversation, or you contacting Barry Madolo, asking or demanding that Advocate Ndelwe be reinstated as the prosecutor.
So that email was actually sent to Advocate Shamila Batohi. And honestly, it wasn't even a demand it wasn't necessarily a demand to bring back Advocate Ndelwe. What had happened was a new advocate was appointed without, us being consulted. We were just told, hey, you guys are now going to be represented by Advocate Seferdine. And we were like, okay, fine. She's a woman, she's probably going to help us. But things changed when she had meetings with us, individual meetings. Me, for example, I'll speak about my own experience. I felt very ridiculed by her during our session that we had. I felt that she was borderline racist. I felt that she didn't believe me. And I can't have someone who doesn't believe me representing me in the fight of my life in the court of law. So because we had only been exposed to Advocate Serfontein and Advocate Ndelwe at the time, we thought, hey, bring back Ndelwe because at least he believed us. These are the options that we were presented with. So it wasn't a matter of, favoring anyone or anything. We just wanted someone who believed us and believed our story, fighting for us in the court of law, which Serfontein unfortunately wasn't.
Yeah, and then just a final one also as we conclude the conversation. The so-called WhatsApp group, did Advocate Ndelwe coach you guys as witnesses in that WhatsApp group?
No, to be honest with you, I wasn't even a part of the so-called WhatsApp group. There was a group that we had created as some of the girls, just to encourage each other before the legal matter began. So we were encouraging each other and sharing our stories, just, so we wouldn't feel alone. But there was no coaching of any kind that happened.
No coaching of any kind that happened. What would you like to see happen now? Omotoso has, of course, left the country.
Yeah. Well, I'd like him to stay out of the country. And I don't know what the possibilities are as far as him being charged again, but I know he's done this to so many more people than those of us who reported. And, I'd urge those people to come forward. Perhaps we can take some lessons from our loss and try to secure a win next time, but hopefully he stays out of the country. And I just hope that, religious leaders and people who are figures in sacred spaces really take their position seriously, and stop using them to inflict harm on people. That's my hope and that's my wish. And with this lawsuit, just hopefully some consequences for some actions, because we can't allow people to go scot-free when they are speaking and spreading lies about us. This is something that the chairperson of the CRL Rights Commission urges as well. When someone insults you, or if someone assaults you, run to the police station. It is against the law. It's a crime in South Africa to insult someone and say things about them that are untrue.
All right. How are you feeling currently? What's your relationship with God like currently?
My relationship with God is amazing. It's amazing. I have disassociated God from, the people that misrepresent him. And I feel I'm closer to him than ever. I am a Christian, and I may slip sometimes, but I truly do believe in God. And I believe, the Bible tells us that God's ways are not our ways. So the fact that we may have not gotten justice in the world doesn't discourage me at all, because I know that God, he's a God of vengeance, and he'll have his judgment someday. As long as we know that we spoke the truth, I know that God is with us. So